Hello and welcome. My name is Mike and I am the Not So Fat Father. Now today I have something really special for you guys. In this envelope right here I have the secrets to long-term sustainable weight loss. Now I want to go through this information with you and I don't want to waste any more time. So let's open this envelope right now and find out what the secret is. Wait a minute. Wait guys, the envelope's empty. There's nothing in here. And that's true, because there is no secret to weight loss. Weight loss is very simple when you break it down to math. Now, execution of weight loss is a different story, but the principles of long-term sustainable weight loss is very, very simple. Now, basically what we need to do is understand how our bodies work. Our bodies work off of an energy system. Right? So we intake energy, our bodies use that energy, and if there's an excess of energy, our body stores that excess. If there is a deficit of that energy, our body will start using the stores that we have to fill that deficit. So we look at calories. Calories are scientifically a unit of measurement, okay? I try to keep it a lot more simple in my head. I am not a scientist whatsoever. So I always look at it as calories are the gas that you put in your tank, right? And that's what makes your engine run. Now, if you did nothing all day, if you literally laid in a bed all day long, your body's still going to use calories. Your lungs are working when you breathe. Your heart is pumping blood through your body. Even thinking burns calories. Anything you do, just being alive, burns calories. Now if you add some exercise into that, you burn even more calories. Now why do we store fat? Let's talk about that. Well, it's a very primitive system. Back when we were early evolving as a species, food was not an abundant thing. We did not have a ton of food readily available like we do today. So our bodies created this system that said, oh, I'm bringing in calories, we're bringing in energy, we're bringing in that gas. And if we have more than we need, I'm not just going to waste that and get rid of it because I'm not guaranteed to have that energy coming in tomorrow. So what our bodies have done is created a system where that excess energy, those excess calories we bring in, start getting stored throughout our body in fat. Now, the way that we lose weight is basically by tapping in to those reserves that we have stored all over our bodies. So if I know how many calories I burn on a daily basis just by living and breathing and maybe mild exercise or whatever I do, and I reduce my intake of calories, what my body's going to do is say, all right, well, we need this much to function. He's only brought in this much. We need to tap into our reserves to fill that gap, and the body's going to start breaking down the fat that you have stored in those reserve tanks and start utilizing that as that energy to fill that gap. And as it utilizes it, it's going to reduce how much stores we have. Now, on the scientific side of things, where that fat goes and how it leaves your body is really amazing. I'm going to do another video on that because I think it's a really amazing subject. I always say, you know, for me at least, for the past year, where I've lost 70 pounds, I didn't lose any weight. I knew exactly where it all went because of the work that I put into it. But I always wondered, you know, where it actually went and how our bodies do expel it. And like I said, we will do another video on that, all right? But today, let's talk about a foundation. Let's talk about a base on how to start a weight loss journey in an efficient, healthy way to do so. All right, so like I said, what we need to figure out is how much energy, how many calories our bodies burn on a daily basis, and then we can make an adjustment to that to create a deficit. Well, what we need to look at is something called the TDEE. That's your total daily energy expenditure. Now, how do we figure that out? Well, we live in an amazing time. There's this wonderful thing called the internet, which you guys are well aware of because you're on YouTube. There's a lot of resources on the internet where you can find what your TBEE actually is. Now, the TBEE, the total daily energy expenditure, gives you how many calories your body is burning based on activity levels and your age and your weight and your height and everything else. Now, I personally like tdeecalculator.net, and you can find that here, and I'll put a link down in the description as well. What you'll be able to do is go onto this website for free, and you'll be able to put in your age, your height, your weight, and what kind of activity level do you have. Do you not do any exercise? Do you have an office job? Do you exercise mildly 1 to 2 times a week, so forth and so on? And that's going to spit out the TDEE. So in other words, how many calories your body burns on a daily basis. Okay? Now, you will need to readjust this as your weight does come down, because as your weight comes down, your TDEE is also going to be affected as well. So when I first started, I was 310 pounds, and I put the information into this calculator here, and I was amazed because it spit out a number of like 2,800 calories a day. And I created a deficit, and I was still amazed at how much food I was still able to eat. Now today, at 234 pounds, my TDEE is actually lower, because my body doesn't have to work as hard to breathe, to move, to function on a daily basis, because it's not carrying all that extra weight with me. So you do need to readjust your TDEE as you do shrink, because it will go down as well. Now, what do I recommend as far as safe calorie deficit to start your weight loss? Now, I am not a dietitian, I am not a scientist, I am not any kind of person with any initials after my name, basically. This is based on what I have done as far as personal research goes and what has worked for me over the past year. What I recommend is to have a calorie deficit of about 500 calories. All right, 500 calories is a great number to create your first steps in your journey when it comes to weight loss. And the reason why I say that is, let's look at some numbers here real quick. Let's say that your TDEE is 2,500 calories a day. All right, so 2,500, my body utilizes and burns 2,500 calories a day. Well, if I create a 500 calorie deficit, that means that I get to still consume 2,000 calories a day, which is quite a bit if you make smart choices when it comes to your food. Well, what that does is give me a 500 calorie deficit. Now, if I do that all week, I have 7 days of a 500 calorie deficit. Well, what that's going to do for me is at the end of the week, I'm going to be at a total of 3,500 calorie deficit for that week. Well, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. So if I have a 3,500 calorie deficit in the course of a week, at the end of that week, I have the potential of losing 1 pound because I have that 3,500 calorie deficit. Now you might be sitting there in your head going, oh man, well if I reduce my calories by 1,000 or 1,500, I can lose weight even faster. And the answer is yes, you can. Absolutely, you can do that. I don't recommend it though. And the reason why is what we're looking at here is long-term success. We want to have steady weight loss in a slow fashion. And the reason why is if we go extreme and we have a huge calorie reduction and deficit, what that's going to do for me is, first of all, it's going to make me miserable. I'm going to be hungry, I'm going to be grumpy, I'm most likely going to be tired, and I'm not going to set a stage for long-term success. This is what happens with a lot of people that diet. This is what happened to me throughout my entire life when it comes to dieting. I got on crazy diets, crazy fad diets that were super calorie restrictive, and what happened was I get to a point where I either just can't do it anymore and I give up completely because my life is so miserable and I can only eat a cracker a day or a grapefruit a day or whatever the heck it was, you know? And my life was completely miserable. Or because I had such a huge deficit and I was restricting myself so much, my brain snapped. and I started binge eating, and I started just shoveling food in my face because my body was craving something, and I was restricting myself so much. I needed that food addiction in the relationship that I've had with food my entire life. I needed something, and I was, oh, just one cookie, and one cookie turned into a whole box of Oreos, a whole package of Oreos very, very easily. And at that point, it's very easy to start discouraging yourself and say, man, I screwed this up. Tomorrow will be a better day. Let me eat more today. Let me get a whole pizza. Let me get this. Let me get that. It's a cheat day for me today. And the problem is, you never get back on track. You just continue on. And that's how you gain back any losses you've had, and more possibly, which is always what happened to me. So slow, long-term weight loss with a small deficit of 500 calories makes it so it's not super restrictive. You can budget your food and really not have to be super restrictive on what you are consuming. You want to have a piece of chocolate cake every single day. You can budget that piece of chocolate cake into your overall day of calorie intake. You want to go out and have a beer with the guys. You can do that just by budgeting in, knowing how much that beer is in calories. You can budget that in to your daily intake of calories. Now, alcohol and weight loss is a completely different subject. Now, I'm going to do another video on how alcohol reacts with my body, because I have actually found that alcohol reacts very interestingly when it comes to my weight loss journey, and we are going to talk about that. Now, I'm not saying that I don't drink anymore. I still can drink in a social atmosphere, and I do budget that into my overall daily calories. So with a small reduction, or like I said, this 500 calorie reduction, we're not limiting ourselves to the point where we are miserable, okay? Now, you can even have fast food if that's what you want to do. Now, understand that fast food, highly processed food, highly refined food will usually be very calorie dense and not very nutritionally dense. So if I go out and I have a Big Mac and fries and a shake and all that kind of stuff, I am at my calorie limit maybe with one meal, and I have no nutrients coming in, really just empty type calories. Same thing with like sodas and stuff like that. Now, luckily, I have never been a huge soda drinker, and I find there's a lot of people that do consume quite a bit of soda, and you're basically drinking tremendous amounts of calories at that point in time. And it's been very successful for people to make small changes in their lives, like giving up soda and going to a 0-calorie type of drink instead. And there's a lot of them out on the marketplace that you can look into. And just by making that small switch, they create an incredible calorie deficit already, and they really don't have to change much of their lifestyle. Now, again, I've never had that scenario because I was never really a big soda drinker anyway. I prefer water pretty much over any beverage. I just always have. All right, but you can see how you can make small tweaks. Understand how many calories you're taking in on a daily basis, and that's probably a great place to start. Is start tracking how many calories without making any change. Start tracking how many calories you bring in per day. Now, there's great ways to do that, free ways to do that. MyFitnessPal is a good one that you can use. There's different apps and everything else that you can download where you can scan barcodes on food. You can search databases, and it tells you how many calories are in there and stuff like that. And you can see where you're at right now. Do the TDEE calculator, find out where you should be, and then you can make adjustments from there. All right, now the one thing that I always talk about, or I want to talk about with you guys, and you're going to hear me continue to say this throughout this entire channel and throughout my entire journey, the one thing I learned very early on is you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. Exercise is something that I feel is very worthwhile as far as health reasons go on your weight loss journey. And we're going to talk more about that in other videos, exactly what I do and stuff like that. And trust me, guys, I am not a gym rat. I am not somebody that is super excited and passionate about going to the gym on a daily basis and stuff like that. But I do it, and I do it in a moderate fashion just for health reasons. But you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. And that is so true. One of the things that I find very discouraging about exercise at first when I started my journey was how little calories it actually burns, how much work you need to put into exercise to burn a significant amount of calories. It is much easier to plan a dietary budget, a caloric budget, and get a deficit than it is to work to reduce the calories. If you want to continue to eat what you're eating today and you're at a 3,000 calorie intake and your TDEE is at a 2,800 calorie TDEE, that means that you have 200 calories that you need to work off just to get to your TDEE, and then another 500 to go from there. And there's a lot of effort that you need to put into exercise to get that calorie deficit. So it's easier, much easier, especially if you are very large. If you do have a lot of weight to lose, maybe you're not comfortable with going to the gym yet. Maybe there is health issues where you can't go to the gym yet necessarily. There is small at-home type fitness that you can do, but the number one thing for you guys to look at is your diet and reducing the calories. You don't have to work out to lose weight. As long as you maintain a caloric deficit, you will lose weight. It's just the way it is. It's science, guys. It's the way it works, okay? So you don't have to have exercise to actually lose weight. It is a great counterpart when you are losing weight for muscle retention as well as overall health. And again, we will talk about that in some other videos. But this is the foundation for long-term sustainable weight loss. It's slow, it's doable by anybody, and you just need to understand the basic principles behind it. Figure out how many calories you consume today on a regular basis. Find out what your TDEE is, and then start making those adjustments. Start understanding how I can cut things out, or how I can replace things that are lower calorie yet more nutritious possibly than what I'm currently eating now, and still being completely satisfied. And that's another thing about extreme calorie reduction that we should talk about as well. Your fat stores that you have, that are your energy stores, your reserves, right? They are not super nutritionally dense type of energy stores, right? So if I reduce my calorie intake, the good nutritious food coming into my body, if I reduce that to a point where it's very, very minimal, okay, my body is burning a lot of those fat stores very rapidly, what we're going to find is we are going to create some health issues on top of other, like I said, fatigue and everything else, because we have nutritional deficits and we have nutrient deficits, and we don't want to have those. We want healthy, happy bodies along our journey for long-term success, okay? So we don't want extremes. We don't want very minimal calories, 500 calories a day, under 1,000 calories a day in most cases. Those can be considered extreme, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose. Remember, anybody can do this at any age. It doesn't matter how much you have to lose. It matters that you take the first step to lose it. And what I want you to do is do it in a smart way so you can lose what you need, what you want, and do it and keep it off and be happy while you're doing it. The journey is fun, guys. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard work, no question about it. And we'll talk about the hard work that goes into it. But the journey itself is something that you need to enjoy so you can continue on with it. If you are miserable, if you hate it, you're most likely going to give up. All right? And I don't want to see you guys do that. I want to see you have success like I've been able to have success this year, and feel great about it, and talk to people about it, and be an inspiration to people about it. You have that ability. You have the gusto inside you to do that. And all it takes is the first step of understanding how much calories you take in today, your TDEE where you need to be as far as your body burning naturally, and then what a small reduction can do to start shedding those pounds off of you in a standardized long-term fashion. All right, with that, guys, I'll see you next week. Feel free to hit that like, subscribe, and the bell notification so you know when my next video does come up. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys online next time.